My first question is just to ask you a bit about yourselves. Why do you want to stand? What do you stand for? And if someone wants to volunteer. Okay, Spoons. Just unmute yourself.
All right. So the reason I'm standing is because I'm kind of concerned with how our chancellors in the past have been acting. And I mean all of them really, besides maybe Jaw. Recently, Southwest's overclaiming of Lebanese Islands, that could have been a pretty big issue, but me and King Cooper took care of that ourselves. Leo's paid for the islands now. During my time in the IF, I've contributed a lot of resources to group projects, created the military ice road for defensive purposes, and I've also spent many hours on the rails around here.
Okay, you've got 15 seconds if you want to add.
I think that's okay.
Okay. Does anyone want to go next? Or will I be forced to pick someone? Okay, nice. Zolo, on you go.
I'm running for Chancellor of the IF for the reason that I see no other candidates as ambitious enough to tackle the modern problems of Civ. IF, always very great nation, but has lacked those sort of big coordinated projects by its member states that could make it a true world power. Therefore, I am seeking more cooperation with the nation of Icar. What is this? No! Have I been absolutely scammed?
What happened?
I've been so
I
scared.
didn't expect that already. Jesus. Do you want to finish your speech or?
I mean, I'm completely fucking flabbergasted, but okay.
Okay.
Where was I?
What was it?
The
Can you
Imperial
grab my stuff?
The Imperial
Solo?
Federation, the most the most active nation on the server. Yet it has always lacked that sort of like ounce that keeps it behind being a great world power, and that's why I'm pursuing a closer alliance and a closer friendship with Icarus to provide both in terms of security, our nations defending each other, but also in terms of wealth, XP production, in the terms of pooling our building resources together.
I'm gonna
makes us
cut
really
you
beautiful.
off. No, thank you very much.
I think I should get
okay.
a double speech after that bullshit.
Southwest.
All right. Well, I'm running for a second term, mostly to continue the large-scale projects that we've already worked on. Am I coming through?
You're muted. I'll unmute you, sorry.
Yeah, I was not muted, which is why I was slightly confused.
Anyway, maybe I just muted you for myself. Whoops.
Yeah,
okay.
Could be.
Cool.
So,
or have you already gone?
No, I'm just starting. So, running for a second term, mostly to continue projects that we have ongoing. Mostly the rail expansion and actually developing Imperial into a capital that represents the power and the diversity of our nation, as we really should have at this point. I'm also hoping to centralize some of our wealth so that we can actually pay people to work on these projects and actually have a consistent force of builders that are A, willing to work, and B, will be able to cycle that money back into the rest of the nation by spending it for goods and services. And I like to think I've done a decent job at keeping these projects going, and I think we're on a good steady course to actually show off what the IF can do.
Yeah, thank you very much. So next question is from GM, and it has the most likes, which is why I'm going to ask it. It says he would like to know how the future Chancellor is going to promote the recruitment of new players and increase new friend activity. He believes the most important thing right now is to continue recruiting. So I'll start with Southwest because we ended with him last time.
First off, we need to stop sending people to Godhaven. It is literally the place where new friends go to die at this point. nothing of significant activity has happened out of Godhaven, and we really need to start spreading citizens out to other nations. Part of what I'm hoping to do by expanding the rail is to help nations like Gotland and Vermont actually start to recruit, because big reason that people haven't gone out there is there's no consistent way to go other than walking overland, and that's a problem we really need to fix. If people can go to places where they'll, one, be happier, and two, actually have effective governance directing them to work on projects both local and national, I think that's what we need to do right now.
Okay, thank you. Zolo?
I am currently looking for my nation comrades stuff in the hole because he died. I guess I can hold the speech anyway. So to increase new friend activity, I would ramp up advertising efforts. Where those may lead you, I'm not an expert on, but I will try to focus more. But I see the most important issue in new friend recruitment being new friend retention, making sure that new friends are introduced to the server, although not coddled. That will just kill the excitement for the server. So I would recommend focusing on retaining new friends, letting them explore the IF, letting them maybe switch between a few states before really deciding, and also advertising more. Those are my conclusions.
Okay, Brian. Spence?
So to increase new friend activity, I would just advertise a bunch on Reddit and maybe talk about it in the CivMC Discord and also global chat if I really wanted to go crazy with it. As for retention, that is like the other candidates have said, it's the most important thing. What I think is really important is to introduce new players to all the mechanics on this server and show them how to start getting active in the economy.
Okay, nice. Okay, I will pick out another question. Oh, I just left. Wait a sec. So... okay, this was from Frost Warrior. The first question was, will you uphold the status quo or will you make radical changes to the nation in terms of the monarchy question? If someone wants to volunteer to go first, then they can. Okay, the first one I'm going to pick in that case is Zolo.
Alright, so on the monarchy question, I would like to see Cooper, he can retain his role as king for now. I don't have anything against that. Because I don't see a full union with Icarus or any other state as feasible. So I don't want to change his role. However, as many leaders of nations are seen, he's seen as the de facto leader to contact regarding IF matters. I would like to shift that responsibility more towards the Senate of the IF and the Chancellor rather than an unelected body. So in conclusion, I want Cooper to still be a king, but have less de facto power from people assuming he's the only leader.
Southwest?
I agree with Zolo on this. I don't see a need to depose Cooper yet, but I think the power that he wields is often outside of the scope of what's intended in the Constitution, insofar as the Chancellor is supposed to be the primary foreign relations person, but much of that gets routed through the king instead. So I think a better defining and better managing of the roles that we've laid out in the Constitution, as well as honestly a revision of the Constitution to clarify a few things, is probably what we need to do to make the monarchy work the way it was intended to originally.
Yep. Spence?
So the monarchy, I mean, just God bless King Cooper, man. He just does so much work for our nation, and I really don't think we could ask for a better leader. I'll never want him to not be the king. there shouldn't be really any problems with how things have been going so far. I think mostly people that don't want him to be king are just kind of memeing. That's pretty much all I have to say on this subject.
Nice. Perfect. Okay, now let me bring in his second question. Hello, Danny. So, find the second question. Sorry, our Discord's like massive. So, what is your stance on expansionism? I'll start with Southwest.
I think in general, we have expanded as much as we really need to. I would very much dispute any claims that we are a crayon. Looking at our neighbors, I did a full survey of Deluvia recently myself, and compared to all of our neighbors, we are at least 5 times as densely populated as anyone else near us. Despite our large size, we have the activity to back it up. But outside of the possibility of maybe claiming South Augusta for border consistency and to avoid a potentially hostile nation claiming it instead, I don't see any reason to expand beyond maybe helping secure further new friend reserves along the lines of what we have done in Caridia.
Okay, Spence.
I believe we should not be expanding anymore, and we should just be focusing on building stuff up. That's kind of it.
Okay, Zolo.
I'm on Spoose's side on most things, but I do believe that the IF need to start producing EXP, and for that you need certain things. You need access to a desert and some more stuff that the IF does not have right now. However, I believe that you don't have to expand your borders for this. Simply, I would probably see with, again, my other nation, the nation of Icarus, as we have access to, for example, those biomes, you guys could probably, we could fix a way to get the IF access to the resources needed from other places without actually having to expand the borders on the map, which I would see as ideal.
Okay,
Can
perfect,
I
thank you.
make a brief projection to expand on that?
Sure.
I just wanted to state that we have had discussions with Reggio about the possibility of either leasing or purchasing a section of land explicitly for farming mostly cactus, because it's the closest desert to us. But
can I counter?
nothing has come out of that quite.
Go ahead.
Yeah, my counter here is that the access with Icarus would be almost guaranteed free. It would not be costly.
All right.
May I speak for just a moment? Reggio has already said that they don't want to sell any land to us.
Is this the most recent information? Cooper,
Yeah.
Can you confirm that?
Yep.
Okay. I was unaware that the most recent round of discussions is actually concluded.
Okay. I'll take Danny's question now, which is how will each candidate try to improve infrastructure and connectivity with allies? And I'll start with Solo.
Alright, so for the question of connectivity with allies.
Connectivity and allies, I think. Let me double check. Improve infrastructure and connectivity with allies. That's a question.
Yeah. So to improve the infrastructure of the IF, I would simply dedicate more labor to it. More people with more resources means better results. And with that, we could either do a paid system, or that if you work a certain amount of hours, you get something for that. And for the connectivity with allies, it's tricky due to it being hard to navigate around other nations when trying to reach. I believe that a system with ice roads and railways might work in connecting the IF to Pavia, also connecting it all the way to Western Boundary. I believe we don't have a cohesive way there, right? And connecting it up with Icarus. That's
okay.
Which we kind of already have ice road for. Yeah.
Spins?
So currently, I've been working on making rails to Western Boundary and just around the IF in general, of course. Sorry, I'm like kind of feeling super nervous.
Oh, that's okay. That's okay. Southwest. I can come back if you want.
Yeah,
Southwest?
that'd be good. So I can just.
Yeah, and Spoons can definitely expand on this, but between the two of us, we've been working on internal connections in the central and western IF. Spoons has a series of lines centered on Valstena that are connecting both back east to Regensboro and north to CCTT and Western Boundary, and those could easily be expanded to Icarus. And I've been working on the sword line in the center of the nation, primarily to connect Imperia, but also to connect some of the more central territories, including a potential expansion into Kione. Though that's dependent on Big Mick arranging an alignment for it. So for our local Deluvia and Caridia connections, I think we have pretty solid plans already that just need to come to fruition, and Spoons has already been working on a payment scheme for getting help with those. As for connecting to Pavia, I am in some
I'm
discussions
gonna
with
stop there just to give everyone enough time. Sorry, I didn't give you a warning.
Yeah, no worries.
Spoons, do you want to say anything or?
Yeah. So, in terms of infrastructure, that means factories and all that kind of stuff too. I think that it'd be good. A really good idea if we just made like a public factory building in every single town.
Okay.
And that'd be something I'd pay people to make.
Nice.
Yeah,
I guess
I
that's about
would
all I
contribute
got to
to
say
that
on
as
that.
well.
Okay. Okay, so some people on the call are from these nations, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Will you seek to improve relations with nations that are antagonistic towards the IF, like Nara and Atonabi, or just hold the line and push back on this sentiment? So, Southwest, what do you think?
Honestly, at this point, I'm not all that thrilled about dealing with certain nations at the moment. I have no intention for, worsening relationships, but I think our priority should be with our allies and those who are actively seeking to form positive relationships with us. And should that change for some of these more antagonistic nations, then by all means, let's welcome them with open arms. But until that point, I think our efforts are better spent elsewhere.
Nice. Bastello has joined the chat. If you want to answer questions, Bastello, let me know and I'll ask them to you. You can write me a response if you want. Anyway, so Zolo, what do you think about relationship
So,
with?
I would keep pursuing better relations. However, I would not capitulate on questions. I would not concede. I would stand the ground, but I would still pursue in trying to find a diplomatic solution that satisfies both parties, as I believe that's the most advantageous for all of us.
Okay, Spins.
I think it's very important that the Chancellor actually goes out of their way to try to have good relations with those that are like not trying to. Sorry, I need to rephrase that.
You're welcome. If you'd rather like send stuff by text, then I'm okay with that.
No, it's okay. Basically, it's just important for the Chancellor to go out of their way to try to improve relations, even if they aren't good. Like no matter what, and never really try to give up on that because it's very important for trade and just opinions from other nations in general, right?
Okay. If anyone
That's
has
it.
snow, Bastello wants a snowman as a stand-in. But I don't know if he's going to answer questions or not. We'll see.
How do you deal with the fact that IF are still not producing advanced XP?
Ooh, sick burn. Does anyone want
No,
to
because
take
I
it?
have
The
a
way
solution.
my state has been dealing with it is just using other nations' exchanges, which is not a bad way to get started. We'll definitely be starting on advanced XP as soon as we have enough people to actually be working on it. Because I don't want to just be one person doing it,
Yeah,
or have it
part
just
of
be
it's
like it needs to be like 5 or 6 people at bare minimum.
Part of it's also dependent on getting them all finished and having a central location where we can have the factory. both for security's sake and also for access for those who would contribute to it, and essentially create an internal XP exchange to support it.
Wait, can I just ask? Do you mean to have the advanced XP factory in the mall?
Not necessarily in the mall, but at least have a centralized location where we can start to build factories for the nation. Yes, it'll be nice to have some factory buildings.
We should do that in a bunker, not in a
Yeah.
factory.
Yeah, that's also part of my plan, is to have a treasury vault that we can have secure things that are, nationwide.
Yeah, no,
have an actual federal treasury rather than be dependent on the states to handle donating to federal causes.
Yeah, no, we should definitely establish some sort of safe storage for both factories.
So I'm going to ask, what have you done for the IF? And I'm going to start with Solo.
So what I have done for the IF, I've spearheaded the development of Nara. No, not Nara, Keone, sorry. I've spearheaded the development of Keone as a base ground for IF XP production, having some farms near IF land, for example, Pumpkin, which I don't think are anywhere else. I'm also currently overseeing, with the help of Pekme, the development of Nara into an actual state of the IF that's going to contribute to the federal government. And
Keone, right?
It's Keone, bro.
Yeah.
Come on.
Keone, I'm so sorry.
It would be nice to integrate Nara. Veronicas would not approve.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
It's an understatement.
Shut up, Cooper.
No, I was talking about Nara, sorry.
Oh, so... Fuck, I lost myself now. Yeah, I'd more like to focus on what I'd contribute in the future to the IF.
Okay, Southwest.
Well, even before I was elected as Chancellor, I was Chief of Construction and spearheaded the arrangement of our current rail revitalization, and since then I've continued to work on major projects. While I have not worked directly on the Imperial Mall, I contributed about 40% of the material cost for it, while Spoons and 8th have contributed about 50%. And while it has been under construction, I've worked on the infrastructure for getting us actual rail connections to it. And as Chancellor, I've also served as an envoy to several nations, including starting to build stronger trade relations and the potential for an embassy with Dalgo, and helping work with the folks displaced by the TI Arnon War.
Okay. Spence?
Okay, so what have I done for the nation? Created the military ice road, and it's fully reinforced with SRO, stone reinforced obsidian. It's got stone reinforced trapdoors. I've donated tens of thousands of blocks for builds. Spent a lot of time making the rails. I've also many times filled up double chests of baked potatoes and left them for hungry citizens. And I've also created a few jobs just for digging right now, and I plan to make more.
Nice. Okay, so what would you do in your first week as the Chancellor? Spoons. It's quite a difficult one.
That is a really difficult one. Probably just continue what I've been doing, which is working hard and trying to get more people some diamonds and stuff for working and getting our infrastructure up.
Okay. Southwest?
Well, for a first week of a new term, I would, at this point, I'd probably focus on getting new friends properly organized to help with projects, get them the supplies they need to start, and of course continue being an ambassador for the IF as we we're still dealing with the aftermath of the Arnon TI war, and just generally we need to work on our relationships with our allies and those who wish to be closer with us. So I think my focus will primarily be in that capacity, while getting support in the correct directions internally to get our infrastructure projects filled out.
Okay, yeah, sorry, you went over time. Zolo,
Yeah. Wait, what's the question? Answer on that.
how would you
Sorry.
spend the first week?
What spent the first week? I spent my first week trying to organize and plan out more central projects in terms of infrastructure, XP production, and eventually a sky bunker construction that could possibly add more security to it, like bastions and stuff. I would also talk with other nation leaders, see how they react to the pretty sudden shift, since I am not originally from this nation. I would see over relations, and I would probably bring a lot of resources from Icarus to here to try to incentivize people working and growing the IF. Resources,
Perfect.
I mean XP.
So I guess I'll ask. I think there's only one. But if anyone wants to ask a question I've missed or whatever. The only other question that I really noticed was, what would you change about the Constitution? I guess I'll ask because I don't know. I haven't been keeping track. I've been asking first and whatever. But Zolo, maybe.
If I could change something in the Constitution.
Yeah.
If I could change something in the Constitution, then I would probably make the Constitution. Wait. Sorry, I'm losing. Can someone else please start? I'm losing my train of thought.
Any volunteer?
Okay, yeah. So I would make it so that I tried to change the constitution so that people have to reinforce, because otherwise, I mean, it's just really, really easy to grief us at this time, and I would hate to see that. And but also to help with that, I would be donating at least a CS of stone to every state to get their buildings reinforced.
Leo?
So, I think I hinted at it earlier that we really need a stronger separation of powers between the king and the chancellor, for one, and actual clarification on what that entails. I think the bigger problem is looking at IF citizenship, because there are so many gaps in what the definition is. Like, for example, technically free city citizens can't exist according to the Constitution. So, like, issues of citizenship are something that I think we need a lot of clarification on in the Constitution, but there's so many other things I could list.
Does anyone in the audience have any questions? Are we all good?
I just want to comment one thing about the desert XP. I actually own some land in the middle of the desert that you can just put stuff in if we want to make like a cactus farm or something.
Wait, JMQ, how large is it? How large?
Moderately sized. Big enough for some cactus farms.
Alright. Yeah, I kind of wanted to comment on the Constitution thing. No. So, if I could change the Constitution, I would set up a codified and robust way of delivering resources to states that require it. States that have a problem, like for example, this fine state of Godhaven that has a problem with reinforcing, or other problems and lacks, that you could set up a robust way of distributing those goods to make quality of life better for everyone in the Imperial Federation.
Lovely. Well, thank you, everyone. I suppose that will conclude the debate. Are we good to get a photo then? If the candidates want to stand behind me, and I'll take a photo from the platform.
Cooper, I do believe there was one more question that Prawny has included.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna crash. What's the question?
Alright, here's 3 pearl, guys.
Prawny331 asks, which Chancellor candidate is willing to ban Bronicus from the Discord?
Oh, okay. Well, I guess I'll just ask yes or no. Would you ban Bronicus? Leo.
Ooh, tough one.
No, if only because him being here makes him saltier.
Spence?
There's no reason to ban him right now. It's fine.
Zolo?
I won't ban him, but he's pretty cringe.
Okay.